Hey everyone, it's Chad in the YK down at my remote station, and today we're going to be doing a DIY do-it-yourself video with a USB microphone and a push-to-talk. So just to back up a little bit, as I transitioned over into the Flex ecosystem, I think one of the hardest adjustments I had when I was operating remote was to basically manually operate the transmit with, a mouse click or whatever you use, the little touchpad on a laptop. And over the last couple of years, I just kind of dealt with it. But here recently, there was a product that was developed by Halibut Electronics, and it's called the Halikey. This is the version 1.4, and this has really changed everything related to using push-to-talk remotely on a laptop, on a desktop, and it does have some CW features that I haven't used, but I'm sure work equally well as the push-to-talk feature. So today what we're going to do is I'm going to walk you through a step-by-step what I did to put together basically a USB microphone with a push-to-talk button on it that operates basically essentially just like your standard hand mic, your desk mic. It does the same thing. It has beautiful audio, and you can do it for under $75, which I think is the beautiful thing. That way you can have a couple of them. I have one at my operating position in the living room. I have one down in my office near my desktop. And this is going to be my third one that I'm going to use for traveling and such. And so, again, for $75, you can't go wrong. So again, today we're going to walk you step by step through the process of putting this together. Once the microphone is assembled and ready to go, I'm going to then break out the laptop and just show you quickly how to configure it. It doesn't take much. And then we'll do some testing and we'll wrap up the video. One of the best mics that I have found is off of Amazon. It's a plug-and-play USB microphone, and basically you can get these for, I think this one was $13.99 plus tax, but you can't go wrong. Under $15 or thereabouts, you get this USB microphone, and I've had just really exceptional audio reports with this basically PC microphone. So I started here for a couple of reasons. I kind of like the look and feel of the microphone. It has the gooseneck on it, and I'll show you this. So it does fold, like again for traveling or whatever, it does fold. I typically run it in this position here. So we'll pull off the plastic. And I got the maritime net going in the background if you hear some chatter, just to provide some noise here. So again, this is a $15 USB microphone with, again, exceptional audio for again, $15. So we'll pull this off. We'll get the cable pulled out here. And when I do this, I'm experimenting with a tripod here to hopefully make the video capture just a little bit easier on my part, since I'm going to need both hands to do the soldering and stuff. So there we go. There is the microphone. And then I think one of the things that when I was looking to do this, I wanted a low profile push button to activate the box. And I found a 3-pack of these off Amazon back when I did the first mics. I'll show you what they look like. 3-pack for, I think it was $9. And we'll pull this out here. These are just perfect for this type of, actually there's 4 in here. These are perfect for this type of project. So they are low profile. Again, you're not going to have a bulky push to talk. And they have a sticky back. See if you can hear that. They have a sticky back, and then just 2 leads coming off, just basically completing the circuit. A little bit of shrink tubing on the end here. And what I'm going to do, and you'll see here later, we're going to clean the surface here. We're going to take off the sticky back, and I place it right here. So what this looks like, when you're keying at your desktop, up in the living room, say you're in a hotel, you could literally just pick the mic up, and there you go. You have a push to talk, basically a desk microphone with exceptional audio for $75 or less. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be building this and then testing it and kind of walking you through step by step. So I'm going to go ahead and get the one soldering iron warming up here. The second one I'm going to use for shrinking the shrink tubing. I do have a torch on standby, but it's such a large torch that I'm hoping I can get by with this larger soldering iron to just shrink the shrink tubing down. So we'll get this one going, and it gets exceptionally hot, so I'm going to put it over here on the side. So again, we're going to be, this is a two-piece deal, so you can buy this off of electronics.halibut.com, and it's running, I believe, about $35 right now, and it's a different version. It's actually a new version if you go out there. It has basically a different case, I think. It's probably very similar in nature to this one, but about 35 bucks, and I think once you get this USB-A to USB-C adapter, it adds like $5 to it, and then you got another 10 bucks for shipping. So about 50 bucks, all said, you can get this this little adapter. One piece that you need is going to be a 3.5 millimeter stereo plug. So I'm going to grab one of those, and basically the stereo plug plugs into here. This plugs into your PC. It talks to the Flex software, and then that stereo plug is ultimately going to talk to the push-to-talk switch. When that circuit's closed, this device is going to tell the Flex system, 8600, 6600, whatever you're running, to go to transmit. And when you let off the button, it's going to go back to receive. So that's kind of, in theory, how this is going to work. So stand by. I'm going to round up a 3.5 millimeter plug, and I'll be right back. All right, we're back. This is just a standard 3.5 millimeter stereo plug. If you don't have this laying around, which I luckily had one laying around, you can probably get, I wouldn't be surprised if you can't get like a 6-pack off of Amazon for under 10 bucks. But what we're going to be doing here, and I think this camera does struggle on the smaller font, but basically the tip of this connector is going to be the PTT, and then the common sleeve, or this bottom piece of the 3.5 millimeter plug, is the ground. So we're going to be ohming those out, figuring out which out of the two cables and the shielding, which goes where, and then we'll wire this into the push-to-talk switch. So that's what we're going to be doing here. And one thing I like to do is I like to make the links equal. So I'm going to make basically the push-to-talk wire the same link as the USB, and then we're going to kind of wrap those, braid them together, and put a few zip ties on. And that'll just make it kind of look nice, and you don't have a bunch of wires all over whenever you're pulling this towards you to use it. So we'll clean the top of the microphone off just a little bit. It didn't look bad. We're going to pull off the sticky, and sometimes I just take a carpenter knife and try to get under that thin layer and peel it back. It can be a little tricky because this isn't, I don't think this is really the good tape, double-sided tape, but it does come off. And then what I did on my other two is I basically put it right about here. I have it going off the left side of the mic. It's still kind of out of the way. And that's all it takes. You push it down and it's attached. And then when you pick it up, it's just right there. So from a length perspective, we'll cut the 3.5 millimeter jumper. So I'm going to start here on the end and just kind of pull it like such to get these somewhat even. Looks like somewhere in here. I'm going to leave just a little bit extra. Strip this back just a ways so we can expose. We got the shielding, the copper shielding cable, and then we got 2 insulated wires inside this this jack. And typically what I do is just take that braiding and twist it just to kind of organize it, keep it in place. And then the next step here is we're going to ohm out and figure out which one of these two, we got a white and a cream color, which one we're after. Again, we're after the tip. So there we go, get the ohm meter out. Okay. Just going to grab the ground, make sure it tests out. So we've got continuity there, and then we're going to go after the tip. My guess is it's the white one, but see if you can see. Probably is not going to cooperate. Kind of a little bit of a mess here, but you should be able to see that. And we're just going to touch the white one here. Yep, it is the white one. We'll touch this cream color. It's not the cream color. So I'm going to take some dikes and cut this off. We will not be using this wire. Alright, we will not, I don't think we'll need the multimeter again. Probably just get a little bit more of the copper exposed here. We got a good signal on the maritime net this afternoon. Looks like they're working quite a few stations. We're also going to, and these are hard. I do not have strippers that go this low or this small, so I typically just kind of angle them a little bit, and I'm usually able to get enough off. Alright, so we got the wires exposed, and from a polarity perspective, we're not going to be worried about that, because honestly, all this low profile push to talk button doing is it's completing the circuit. So again, it's just completing that circuit, and we don't need to worry about polarity. So what I like to do is typically I like to tin my wires before I go trying to solder them together. I think you just have a little bit better luck getting everything to play properly. So we're just going to tin these up just a little bit. Okay, so that one's done. These were already kind of tinned a little bit on the push to talk. We're going to finish them out here. Still using the good old Radio Shack solder from, you know, probably 15 years ago. So probably the hardest part of this operation is the shrink tubing, and I'll show you why. There's probably a better way to do this, probably, but we're not going to be doing it today for the video. I'm going to cut off just a few tiny pieces of shrink tubing, and that's going to basically cover up these two connections we're going to be making. And what I find is when you go to solder them, I think everybody else is probably familiar with this. You apply a little bit of heat to solder the connection, and next thing you know, you're activating the shrink tubing. So we're going to try to do this very carefully. In fact, I'm going to trim that just a little bit. Go ahead and tin it again. And honestly, it probably doesn't have to be this fancy, but you could probably honestly make these connections a lot easier with another method. I just usually solder. So we're just going to be doing a quick touch of the iron to these two. There we go. Touch it again. You can already see the shrink tubing starting to activate. All right, so we're soldered. The ground is soldered, and I'm going to take my 45 watt. I think this is a 45 watt iron, and we're going to shrink down the rest of this tubing here. And it is quite warm. Again, I think the torch that I had would have been overkill. It is putting off a lot of heat. I like to rotate it too. I think that helps get it to shrink more evenly and consistently, and you get a little bit better shrink on it. This is looking just a bit oversized, but I don't think I really had anything smaller than this laying around. We'll see if we'll get it to shrink here. Yeah, it's tight. Okay. Actually, it's not as tight as I would like. I'm going to try this again. All right, I'm going to see if I have a little bit smaller tubing. I think I do, but let me double check that, and we'll be right back. Okay. So I did have SIP. I almost think this is too small, but we're going to give it a shot here and see what happens. This is real tiny. We're going to cut off the first piece. Let's see, we're going to slide it on. And one other thing I forgot to do is we need to cover up this joint. So I'm going to cut off a little over an inch of this larger shrink tubing. I'm going to pull this piece off. I wonder if we could get this to fit. I don't know. It looks like it will. So we're going to try this size, I think. All right. So, excuse me. Okay. So we're gonna put this this piece of shrink tubing over the push to talk switch. Get it as far back as we can so the heat doesn't affect it. We're going to get this smaller shrink tubing. We're going to have to work fast because this is smaller and it's going to shrink a lot quicker when there's heat introduced. So I'm going to touch this together. In fact, we probably need to trim that. Again, this is the hardest part of this, is dealing with the shrink tubing. You know, drop a comment if you have a better way of connecting these two wires to a 3.5 millimeter jumper. I would be all ears. There has to be a better way of doing this versus soldering and shrink tubing, but this is like one of the cleanest ways I remember. So I'm going to go quick. Okay, it's already trying to shrink, but we got her on. All right. So that's the first piece. I'm going to come in here with the hot iron. Again, this is the ground. That shrink tubing's much better size to these wires. You can see it shrink right up. Perfect. So we just got to repeat this. Go ahead and cut off another piece of this smaller shrink tubing. I'm going to tin this a little bit more. So I'm going to cut that a little bit more, just to give us a little bit more time to pull that over on the connection. Okay. We have to go quick again. We want these to be Okay, they're soldered. I'm going to try to bring this shrink tubing over before it gets... Come on. Okay, we got her. Just kind of rotating it a little bit to distribute that heat. Looks pretty good, really. Happy with how that turned out. Let's see if we can get a little bit closer shot there. Alright, so now you kind of see they're already naturally kind of wrapping together. So I'm going to bring this piece of shrink tubing, and it's going to cover that joint, the splice joint, if that's what you want to call it. And then we're going to apply some more heat to suck this down. Almost there. You know, I've had butane torches in the past that run off those little tubes of butane you can buy at like Home Depot, and honestly, they work okay. But they always end up felling, you know, within a short amount of time, and so I've kind of stopped using those and just try to use a soldering iron when it's a smaller job and a torch on the bigger job. So we're going to go ahead and unplug the irons. We're done with those. Get those cooling down. And then really the next step, let me get these irons out of the way. We're going to braid and use some zip ties, and I'll show you what this is going to look like. Let me clean up the mess here just a little bit. Get the tools inside. Put up the extra switches. And I have had one of these switches fail over time. You know, I don't know how many cycles it had, but it had quite a few cycles on it. So it never hurts to have a few of these in stock just in case. Get out a couple zip ties. And again, what I've been doing is, it's going to be kind of hard to show all of this, but I come in and I braid this, you know, just together. Like so. And on this first, you know, spot of the braid, I'm going to put a zip tie. Zip ties are wonderful, but they can also be annoying because of the locking, you know, piece, the connector. So I like to try to keep that out of the way and kind of as much as possible to where your hand isn't touching it or it's not getting stuck on something. So we'll trim that off. And again, this is under $75, so you know, it's not super elaborate, but it does get the job done, and it does satisfy that push to talk, you know, gap that I've felt that I've personally had with the Flex ecosystem since adopting it, not having that push to talk mic when I'm remote. And you know, I operate, you know, probably, you know, the majority of the year I operate about 75% remote, so it's kind of a big deal if I'm going to be doing any talking. So I'm just continuing to braid this nice and pretty. That splice turned out pretty nice. Again, working with that tiny shrink tubing and those tiny wires can be just a little challenging. And if you want, it's probably not half a bad idea to go ahead and put another zip tie about, you know, maybe right on that splice to just kind of support it. Optional, of course, but you know, something you might think about doing. Going to continue to complete the braid here. Just about done. You know, and I was thinking, you know, if you had some shrink tubing, you could apply some shrink tubing along the way and not use these zip ties, which is a thought. But what I don't like about the shrink tubing is it can get pretty rigid, and it would be nice to kind of keep this pigtail, this wire as flexible as possible, you know, because you're going to be pulling it all over your desk and stuff, and it would just be nice to keep this flexible. So if anybody has any ideas out there of, you know, using something else than the zip ties, because the zip ties aren't necessarily ideal, drop a comment. I'd be kind of curious. All right, so this is what it's going to look like on the end. Basically, we got pretty close to getting those even. I'd say it's really darn close. And you want to leave a little bit of flexibility in the end, because you're going to be plugging this into a USB port on your PC, and this is going to be going into the Halikey. So, you know, depending on how far your USB ports are separated on your PC, you might need a little bit of room to play with there. I think I'm going to do one more zip tie. This is probably going to be my travel mic, so I'm not going to worry too much about it snagging on stuff. Cut off those pigtails. And there we go. That is, again, $75. You have a push-to-talk microphone that works perfectly with the Flex system. You know, again, perfectly. It's just... it's a great addition to a FlexRadio, especially if you're operating remote and miss that the good old push-to-talk microphone. You know, I don't like having to find my mouse and find the manually operated transmit on the Flex. Not that it's a big deal, but you know, it's a couple extra steps. It's so much easier, especially if you're working DX or something and you're multitasking and you hear, you know, a station and you're all, you know, the amp's going, you're all ready to go. You just reach over, grab this and push to talk and you're talking. So, it just makes it a lot easier to operate these radios. So what we're going to do is, this is a wrap. I'm going to get out the laptop and I'm going to show you quickly how to configure this, and then we'll wrap up the video. And again, looking forward to hearing comments of what the viewers think, and if this is something that they find handy and interesting. So we'll be right back when I have the laptop set up. This is the last step, is actually connecting your new USB push-to-talk microphone to your laptop, to your desktop, whatever the case might be. This is my traveling laptop, so this is the one I use mostly when I'm in hotels and stuff. And I'm gonna walk you through it step by step. So what I did is I turned off the local 8600 here, because we're gonna be connecting to it via Wi-Fi on the laptop here. So the first step is we're gonna go ahead and boot this up, get it running in the background. I'm going to minimize this. We're going to go ahead and we're going to connect the USB microphone. So I have two USB ports here on the side. I have an A and a C. So we're going to go ahead and plug the microphone in. You can see it lights up. You can enable talk. Obviously, green is talk. When the light's off, you're muted locally on the device. The next step is you grab your Halikey and you're going to insert that 3.5 millimeter into the back of the key. And then again, for my laptop, I have a USB-A and a USB-C. I don't have any other ports on this laptop, so I have this USB-A to C adapter. I'm going to plug that in, and then that's going to go just right into the USB-C connector. So we are set up. The laptop recognized the device. Next step is we're going to be enabling the Halikey on the 8600. So we're going to go we're going to add a new port. I'm going to label this Halikey. It's going to be, the protocol is actually going to be PTT, COM-port 3, which is already registered within the device manager of the computer, and then it's set to slice A, so it's going to push to talk slice A whenever we press this button. So that's done, and just remember, whenever you're using the push-to-talk USB microphone, you have to have the CAT software package running in the background so it can relay the push-to-talk information back to your Flex 6000, 8000 series radio. So we're up here on the portion of the 20-meter band that does not look like there's a lot of activity. From a mic perspective, you might just double check. I always use default FHM-3. There's a lot of different mic profiles you can use. That's the one you want to. That's the one I use and have the best success with. You want to make sure you're set for PC and not mic. So mic's going to be your local microphone. PC is going to be this new USB microphone that we just put together. One thing I've found with this microphone that really helps is you want to have it set over about 50%, 55% on the mic gain. I do run the processor and I run it on normal just to give it just a little bit more ump. And I've found that if I don't run the processor, there's just not enough amplification, I guess you would say, to get that signal out. So I do think running the processor is a must with this particular microphone. We're going to step down just a little bit. There was a station just to do the test here. There we go, 14,320. I'm going to go ahead and put out a quick is the frequency in use, and we'll just see if anybody's out there. Is the frequency in use? Is the frequency in use from November 0 Yankee kilowatt N0 YK. So that's without the amp, probably about 20 watts, something like that's going out. You can see that we are modulating the radio, so the microphone's working. One thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the mic, and we're going to try it again just to kind of verify that no audio is passing. Is the frequency in use? Is the frequency in use? So nothing, no movement, no modulation. Now the microphone's enabled. Is the frequency in use? Is the frequency in use? November 0 Yankee kilowatt. So again, maybe 10 to 20 watts. I don't have the amplifier on. I'm not really looking to make a contact with anybody, but for purposes of this video, that kind of just demonstrates how this microphone works. So again, just to kind of go back and kind of repeat the driver for this, when I switched over from, I ran Elecraft, I ran ICOM, I ran a little bit of Kenwood, always had that push-to-talk hand mic or desktop mic with me. I was always in the habit of using that. And, I love Flex. I don't think I'll ever switch to a different radio, but it was just always hard for me, even though there's some shortcuts you can use on the keyboard going over to this manually operated transmit, and always remembering to key that and talking to the mic. It just was a bit of a clunky type, setup with such a sophisticated radio until this Halikey option came out. And again, for under 75 bucks, you can put this together in less than an hour, maybe even faster than I did. And you have a really good microphone that you can use at your desk. You can use, upstairs in the living room with the laptop on your lap, whatever the case might be. One thing I wanted to end with is, again, when I travel, I've done it a couple different ways. You can put the microphone back into the box, and then I just literally toss it into my laptop bag, and that, I travel with that. It kind of keeps it somewhat protected. But the other thing I've been kind of looking for is kind of a black square case, and the best thing I can kind of show you today is this GoPro case. But something like this where you're not pinching the wires too much, but you can literally, we'll go in and unplug all this stuff. You could literally fit it in this GoPro case, and I'm sure if you was out on Amazon, there's probably a perfect case for this setup. But just drop this goose mic down, and try not to bend it too much, and zip that up, and you got a grab and go microphone you can toss in your bag and take with you when you're traveling. So with that, let me know what you thought of this DIY project. I'm going to be putting it out there on the Facebook Flex forum to just let other users out there that are maybe facing the same dilemma I had. Put it out there just to share ideas and spark some conversation on this topic. But please leave a comment if you like this. If you know of a better way of doing this, I'd be glad to entertain conversation with you on that as well. So with that, we're going to move on with our afternoon here. I appreciate you watching. Please smash that like button, and if you're not subscribed, I'd really appreciate you subscribing to the channel. We'll say 73.